I have just finished my first conversation with my friend Mayke, and the third conversation in this series of meandering conversations. And Mayke is, as you will soon find out, the most wonderful woman. She's wise, she's funny, she's smart, and she senses a lot of things. She's beautiful at that, and she's a world class at playing, which is one of the things that we speak about. We speak about playing. We speak about coming to learn or coming to know oneself, how to, what happens when we start to really get to know who we are beyond all of the layers of externalities. We speak about anger. I used to be angry mom, and then I went to therapy and got a choice that enabled me to stop being so reactive and start being much more responsive. Yeah, I've had a lovely time with Mayke, and I'm hoping that you will feel the same way once you've listened to us. So, without further ado, here comes me and Mayke in conversation. Hi, Mayke.
Hi, Helena.
How are you?
I'm good.
You're good.
Yeah, and a bit like that. I wonder why, but yeah. So what's going to happen, etc., etc. A bit in my head about that.
So I can tell you, this is my third conversation. I've had a conversation with Beverly and one with Frank, and now I have you. And we have basically just been, I've started the recordings, and whatever comes up, comes up. And it's been, these meandering conversations where there's no agenda, there's no set deadline or timeline, or we need to cover this, or, so it is truly just one of these, let's see what comes up. Which I was just listening to a podcast. I've been out walking. The sun is shining. And yesterday, the sun was shining this hour too. But I yesterday postponed and said, I'll finish all my work and then I'll go for a walk in the evening. And then it started to rain. But I was lucky that the sun actually did pop out when I went for my walk in the evening. But today it was like, no, I'd better get my walk in before, just in case the sun disappeared. So I went for a walk. I was listening to a podcast, kind of wishing that it had been one of these meandering conversations, but it was much more of an interview. And, it's not really fair to compare the two because it's two so different things. An interview is something very different to a conversation. And I long for, I love, I crave conversation.
Meaningful conversations.
Meaningful conversations. And they kind of tend to be, yeah, so I really like, just conversation, just meeting somebody, just being with somebody and kind of, seeing what happens. I love it.
It kept me sane through Corona. Yeah, because I live alone, and then I discovered a week has 7 days. And then
you discover that in your 60-something year.
70-something year.
70-something year even. Oh yeah, that's right. You just look so young, Mayke.
Yeah, thank you. So that's a difference between knowing something. You can ask an 8-year-old, or I don't know how old they need to be, to know how many days in a week. But this time, in Corona time, it became, a physical experience.
Yeah.
Then being on my own is long. And what kept me sane was the really, really meaningful conversation with other people. And as if something behind it opened up. So I'm. It sounds a bit strange, but I'm used to meaningful conversations. I'm having them for a long time now. But in Corona time, something underneath went open, and it became deeper, a layer deeper. And for me, a realization, I'm in need of this. I can't without.
So you are used to these conversation, or to this type of conversation, you say. I am too. I have them a lot, but I had a coach client. I took a coach walk with him, and this is probably 7 or 8 years ago. It was quite early. Oh, that's Pop the cat saying, "Give me food." We had a really great conversation, and when we were done, he said, "Oh, another, amazing conversation. I only have these types of conversations with you," which made me realize that, oh my God, get some other people to have these types of conversations with, because I could see that what he was saying had been my reality too. 5 years prior, I would, not be able to say what I was able to say, which is, I have these conversations all the time. Basically not a day goes by without some type of really felt meaningful, deep conversation. Sometimes in person, sometimes over the phone, sometimes like this over Zoom or Skype or whatever, and sometimes in chat. It's like I can have really deep conversations with people in many different ways, but I have them. It's like, and I realized that I have deliberately kind of found that there was a void in my life lacking this, and then taking steps to create that which I wanted it to be. But have you always had deep, meaningful conversations, or is this also something that has evolved in your life?
Beautiful question. I guess Corona has deepened it. So then the context became providing or became a strong container. But for me, probably it's in my personality, linked to me is the energy of depth. So I'm in how do you say, in the society, it's a lack of skill. I'm not good at talking about small things, so I become nitwitted when I walk into a room where there is a reception or something, and then yes, no, and yeah. So there is something in me that is it the word aiming? It's aiming for depth because I know it's there. And I would love to be able to do the chit chat, would be handy, I guess, but something about depth is linked to me. For instance, in a time when I did my coaching in small organizations, I didn't have much of them, but I stayed within that place for many years.
How long have you been a coach?
I guess from in the way of from, let's say, from 2008. And I get something is I'm carrying, and that's the in my coaching sessions, it will enter very soon. It's about, let's say, a superficial layer and a deeper layer. I can't without. It's everywhere. I need to know. I need to connect with the deeper layer.
But can you get there immediately, or do you sort of have to go through that superficial layer first? Is there a way to?
Yes, I have to go through, and what I'm amazed about it, my personality is strong. I wouldn't say I'm strong, but my personality is, and it's yes. So now I have to jump in, and it's I have to confess. So and now I lost it. Yeah, my personality is so strong and still a lot of the time in resistance. And that's one thing. And then there is another aspect, and that, oh, babe, you're 70. Get a grip, you know. But I'm so, and it's, for me, it's right now, it's a battle on a sharp line, because there's something I know. Do you have to first to feed your cat?
No, please, I'm going to throw him out. Let's go, Pop.
Oh, feed him no. First.
He has food. He just doesn't want the food that he has. He wants other food. So I'm throwing him out.
Throw him out.
I throw him.
So that I'm still a bit puzzled by it, because I know. Why would I resist it so much?
Resist what?
Accepting who I truly am.
Yeah, why are you?
If you could answer this question for me. It's oh wow, an answer pops up. Wow, it's also a knowing, but um, it's a story, and there are stories. I go with you. So I go with this one, and that is that when you come on into this earth, you're catapulted in a certain place. But let's say it's the most perfect place to open up to what you're carrying inside. So it's like you're a rough diamond, and then they place you in a place where there is a lot of drilling to do, let's say. So you're given the perfect parents, etc., in a perfect place. So this resistance and my struggle to come to go to a place where I want to be, it's linked to my deep longing. How deeper the longing, I fantasize how more the bullshit, let's say.
Because it's like there's always this thing when you look at somebody else and you can only see the outside. They can give you glimpse of the inside through deep, meaningful conversations, but still you see the outside. And I look at my friend Mayke and I think, oh, I love her. And I think she's just the most amazing person I know, with a very forceful personality where play is so much the thing that I think makes me drawn to you, because that's one of the areas where I struggle. I struggle to let myself play, and you just play from my perspective. This is what I see.
This is true, but what you see, I will never lose it, let's say, because because I'm a carrier of it, and when I'm in my personality, I can tell you that there is no time for play, because this here on earth, it's really serious business. You can't go for a walk, hop, and you can't play. No time for play. Oh. So in talking about it, that's it. You let's say you need something inside of you, and the playfulness, but playfulness, that's it needs also a container of safety.
Yes.
And I guess that when I'm in my survival mode, then it disappears. It's there, and it can be like that. And I realized one of the first thing what's needed is safety. Feeling of safety, relaxation.
Which I think is kind of one of the reasons why I have struggled so with playing. Because I haven't felt safe to do so. I haven't felt as if that container is there. This, because it's interesting when you say this, it's like I get a physical sense of it. Like playing is this, it's movement, it's fluidity, it's it's freedom in a sense. And then the container of safety that contains that movement must be quite large in a sense to be able to give the freedom it needs to be all that it is. And if I just look into myself, I think that container that I have felt myself in has been very, very tight. There's not a lot of movement that can take place in this space. So a lot of seriousness, a lot of, like assumptions that I've made of how I'm supposed to be in order to be liked and loved and cared for and all of that. And that has been a very tight container. So when I now as an adult, like try to, it's like I first have to break out or shake loose this tight container so that there is this movement. And it's interesting because in some areas I have managed quite well. In other areas, I can still, feel like I'm, it's like I can't move. I don't have any room. And I don't really want any room either because I don't feel safe doing it.
Yes.
So it's like both and. I'm not safe and therefore I don't feel safe. And so it's like, oh, I don't want to play. It's dangerous. Warning signals going off. That I will be ridiculed and made to feel like a fool and shamed and all of that.
I hear you. And what if you right now let go of some labels about movement and play? So if you if you feel safe enough, out of your mind, and you go inside deeper, and you immerse yourself into play energy. I'm curious if you can recognize that and where you've been there already.
It's tricky because it's like I can feel it, I can sense it, and I think it's one of the energies that I kind of shield or keep hidden, or it's further away from me so that I have moments where I like go with the flow of things. I can be biking, listening to music that I love, and I can just start belting out a song, happily biking and meeting people and they're looking at me and I'm smiling at them, singing my loudest. I have no, it's like that's one of the areas where it feels like I can let this out. But ask me to like step into, role playing, if we're doing something in front of people and there's a role play and stuff, and it's like, I've gotten better at this, but man, can I, it's as if that play energy is like, I'm not letting it out. There's so much mind constructs on top of that just stop it. That goes, what will they be thinking of this and that? And I'm getting, it's like there are moments where I let it out. And interestingly enough, many of those moments are to do with music. Singing, dancing, playing. It's like, and it might be, this is actually one of my doing gentle tips. I think the music gives me an alibi.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. Needing an alibi.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like, I can take the music by the hand and it will lead me into, and I can, be a little bit safer there. We were just doing something for the choir. So I sing in a church choir, an all ladies church choir, and I've sung in this choir since 2008 or 9 or something. And I love it. And because of Corona, it's been tricky. We have had no choir lessons. We have had outdoors choir lessons. We have had no choir lessons and no choir lessons and no choir lessons. We've had choir lessons with 2 meters apart. And, it's like all sorts of things. But basically, since November, it's been shut down. So there was no performances over Christmas and stuff. And, it's like, I really miss it because I love singing in the choir. So a couple of, maybe 2 months ago, we started having solo sessions, 20-minute solo sessions with our choir conductor, so that he kind of slotted us. And we were practicing this one song that he's written, an Ubi Caritas. And then 2 weeks before Easter, he came with a big surprise, which was this thing where he wanted to make one of these virtual choirs things. So he had recorded each of the soprano and the alto, and sent it to us on YouTube, so that instructions on how to do it. So set it up, have 2 screens, record, have the music in your ears, and then record the thing. And so I was doing this down in the basement, in the bathroom. So you hear him singing my what do you call it?
Your part.
My part, precisely. Singing my part. And so I'm singing with him. And then it's like, I don't know how many takes I took on this. And then it was like, okay, now I have 5 that I think were okay. Then I had to listen to those suckers to see which one was okay. And, it's uncomfortable because those were just me. Right? Because I had the music in my ears, but the recording was just of my voice. And one of the beautiful things about singing in a choir is that my voice can help raise other voices, and other voices can help me when I'm kind of, off pitch or missing a beat or something. So it's one of those things where the totality works really, really well, but each individual part goes like, oh. So I was listening, and the funny thing was I ended up sending him the first one of those 5. The first one is usually the best. And then we now have started choir practice just Monday with half of the choir. So shorter time, 45 minutes, half of the choir. So there's just 8 people. And then, everybody out, and he clears the room, and then the next half of the choir comes. So we were singing again together, and it was just amazing. But we were speaking about the experience of standing there and singing, singing to your computer or your phone, recording it, because it was both video and our song. And he was saying, it takes guts to do this. It takes guts to both see you on a video and hear yourself, bare. We're used to hearing ourselves sing, but together, right? That's why we're in a choir. So that's one of those things. It's like 10 years ago, that would have been way much more uncomfortable for me than it was now. Because again, it's like, well, there's music here. We can do this thing. I'm allowed to make it sound a little bit weird at times. And, I maybe didn't really get that pitch, that tone quite right. But as a whole, it turns out into something really, really beautiful.
Wow. What comes up is, and this is so recognizable, of course. And now I'm used to it, to hearing my voice sent back to me. But the first time but there's a lot. What resonated and what I pick up on is, I guess, singing is one of the direct lines with your soul, or maybe soul is too much, but when you talk or when you're in daily life, you can do a lot of hiding, and your face, whatever, and even your voice. But your singing voice is much more, let's say, honest. You can't hide less in your voice than in your face or in your talking conversation. And I'm wondering why we have difficulty in hearing it back, and do we have difficulty in hearing more nakedness or something?
I think there's a part of acceptance there too, isn't there? This and like accepting what we are and who we are and how we sound and how we look and all of that. But it's also this thing, like you, I've gotten used to hearing myself speak because I've been in podcasts, and I listen to Buddhas by the Roadside. I have a great time listening to those episodes, even though I'm one of the people in them. So I've let go of that piece of, I think, very common criticism, like, oh, how do I sound? And oh no, I don't like my voice. And it's like, well, I've come to like how my voice sounds. And it sounds really different to hear my voice than it does to hear my voice as I'm speaking it, because it comes from the inside. There's a totally different type of resonance box inside of me than what is picked up by a microphone. So what I'm used to hearing as my voice when I'm speaking it isn't what the microphone or the recording will play back to me. It is part of that, but not all of it.
Yeah, and now I come to the question about who is listening. When I'm in that, let's call it in a deeper place, and if I could say my soul is listening, it's my soul is expanding, and you know, and there is this touching feeling, and when I'm listening with the more my everyday persona, I can't feel it, and there is thoughts. I'm then I become a thought construct. Too loud, too boring, whatever.
I mean, that's one of the things that I'm like exploring even more lately. I'm doing process-oriented therapy, and where I'm the client, and for me, this like I'm finding parts of me, different voices in me, different aspects of me that speak with different voices, that have different needs, that have different, hang-ups and pet peeves and all of that. And it's interesting because in these sessions, Dominic can ask me a question, and I can be thinking lots of things. I can also feel lots of things because he's helping me to kind of, so I notice if there's any energy rising anywhere or moving anywhere or hiding anywhere in my body, in different parts of my body. But I can also have this like internal conversation with myself or these different parts of myself without letting him in on the secret. And I think one of my intentions with doing this work is to get used to hearing more of those different voices, hearing the individual different voices within me, because I experienced that if I look back at my life, one of all of these voices of mine has been the dominant one, the one that's heard and seen and felt, and this is the one whose hang-ups we all have to go along with, in a sense, or I'm taking the lead. So I'm like kind of closing the gap between that one quite dominant voice or previously quite dominant voice of mine and the other that have been more dormant and or silent and or perhaps trying their best but not really being heard.
Beautiful.
And I'm guessing it's quite common That's me guessing. I think that's me hoping. It's quite common. So he's like, please don't tell me I'm the only one who feel this way.
Oh, this is so, I like this. So you giving me so much power. And now I can think about which aspect of me can become, or the witch, the bad witch. But of course, I have bad news for you, and that is you're very common. Yeah, I don't know why this is, or what the beginning of it is. Or maybe the beginning is fragmentation for me. So when we come into this world, we are this beautiful, beautiful wholeness. And then things start to happen, and maybe you come here as holy or something, and then gradually you lower and you become human. And then, let's say, some large split starts to happen. Your ego starts to develop, and the more ego, we can lose connection with who we truly are. And probably in the ego there is also the fragmentation, and then aspects may be triggered by certain circumstances, and then one aspect becomes dominant. And I find it very, very, very impressive. She or he who has designed this model, I'm deeply, deeply impressed. Yeah.
Have you watched Jill Bolte Taylor's TED Talk, the neuroscientist at Harvard or something? She had a stroke, so she's a neuroscientist. Yeah.
Yes.
So she studies the brain, and then she has a stroke when she's, I don't know, 50 or something. So like young, in essence. And then she's written a book about it, but the TED Talk is kind of enough to grasp the things, because it's so interesting to hear her, who knows all about the brain. Like, she knows what there is to know about the brain that we know so far. She kind of knows. So she was kind of watching herself lose these aspect of the brain that we have, like, like, that are a part of growing up. This, yes, the ego, and then this, and realizing that I'm not the only one, and there's other people, and it's like it makes sense that it's there, for us to be able to function and like be a social animal and all of these things, right? So it's not bad, but she was then in the hospital, and she explains it as if that there were no boundaries, that she was everything. Like, so she was in, she was in the bed, and here comes the nurse with the toast, and it's like she was just a part of everything. And then gradually she kind of lost that as she was then relearning these, kind of the natural evolution of becoming a person, I guess. But it's so interesting to I wonder at that, if like, yes, we're born and we are this whole person that can't tell ourselves apart from anything else, because we don't know that there's a self, and it's like things just are. And then gradually, at 8, 9 months, kid realized that, maybe it's not mom who carries me, picks me up, it's somebody else, and the shutdown of the kid at that age and stuff. And then I wonder if not a lot of the searching that I experience, if I look around and also if I look within, is kind of to come back to that wholeness feeling, right? So maybe we start there and then we slowly, and then somehow I think we're supposed to, come back to that feeling again, having learned so much in the process. And I think that maybe we kind of get lost somewhere on that road. So not a lot of people are coming to that place again. Is that why there's so much regret when people die?
I can't tell, because now at first I thought everyone is like me. I have such, after 40, when I opened up to another dimension, to another reality, to, let's say, knowing that there is a deeper one. Now I lost what I wanted to say. For very long after, I thought everyone has this experience, and that's not true. It's in percentage, it's just, I know now, a small percentage. And what I recognize in myself is I want to come home. I've called it everything, my suffering and my striving and my falling and coming up and walking, it's all directed to this one, coming home. And experience that for short moments. So that's why I call myself blessed, I have this nipple, and maybe other people don't have it. And for now, I find it very difficult. But so I've come to, I respect it so much. So there are people, and they come and they live, and then they go, and and that's it. And for me, that's really, really difficult. It feels almost hurtful.
What's hurtful about it?
Wow, the word waste pops up. I am that I am, and I want to be that. So, and I'm giving. I can't tell, Helena, so much on a daily basis to what Marie-José calls to open up my own gift. And during Corona, and I'm not overwhelmed by it. Some friends are in really dire situations, and I'm not. I'm in my own bubble, and in moments I'm meeting someone, and then I become extremely upset and extremely triggered. And I've learned to accept. Okay, my lesson. I'll look into it. So when first I could make enemies and they weren't thoughtful enough or whatever, and that's not the case. There is always the deeper layer. If I have trouble or if I'm something is touched inside of me, it has nothing to do with the other one. Nothing. And now it's not easy, but I've come to a point where I can say thank you. At the same time, I cry out loud, but there is a really thank you.
So what's the difference in you or for you when you now are able to say thank you, when you bump into one of these things that have to do with you personally?
The difference between now and
when you didn't say thank you, I'm guessing you were like, no, 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 no. This is not on me. This is on you. I don't want this.
Yeah, the reaction is linked to a dominant aspect. And one of my dominant aspects, I'm thinking about, will I say is or was? So is what was is the poor me. So I've grown up and I really I listened to the message that I'm small and the youngest and I can't do it. So so in the past when someone did and even nasty things, whatever, I'm poor. I'm really poor, and they shouldn't be so harsh. And how could they? They are really bad people like that. And I guess now I can fight back when needed, and I can just take it and leave the other one and do my inner work. I guess for me, coming home is also, I'm not quite sure if it's linked with the word freedom. That's for me a huge one. It's linked, it's more linked to wholeness. I guess when you're whole, then there isn't any freedom, any aspect, or there is nothing. So that's one of the elements, being whole. But maybe a pre-state before that, there is freedom. And for me, that's, you talked about the small space to move in around, and I felt it so strongly. And that's linked to freedom, to the moment where those boundaries or that cage, when all of a sudden it becomes a flower, it falls open, and there isn't any limitation.
That's lovely.
And what I know now, I discovered the word perceived. So if there is any limitation, it's a perceived limitation. That's something to swallow, because the things I feel are so real, and there is underneath, it's some part of me created.
Mm. It's so easy to get kind of lured by language when it comes to this. Like, you make me happy, you make me sad, you make me angry, you make me everything. It's like, yeah. Or, you know, that resides in me. You know, what is in me is reacting to what I think of what you're doing or not doing or saying or not saying. Mm. And I mean, there are times I can recognize myself also in what you're saying, and this that I know that when something pops up in me, it's, you know, it's mine to deal with. And now and again, I just get so fed up with it. I don't want to know that. You know, it's like, can this one thing, this one time, can it just please be on you? And then I can get so kind of, you know, it's like, whereas other times it's really, you know, there's a lot of power there. Empowering is a word that I have issues with, especially because I think it's used as if I can empower you. And I don't think anybody can give that. But when I can empower myself, like, and this is one of those ways I can do that. I can say, I own this reaction. It's within me. And depending on what the reaction is, does it serve me? Doesn't it serve me? There's information there. I can learn about me, about patterns and triggers and stuff. And those aren't fixed. It's like, in the sense that they can be melted down again into pure energy, and the energy can be reused into a new pattern that serves me better in this period of time of my life. That's me empowering myself greatly. And now and again, I can, you know, really be bolstered by that. And then now and again, I can go that poor me route instead, just thinking, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want to have to own it. I don't want to have to deal with it. I don't want to have to take responsibility for it. Can it just please go away? Can you please just fix this thing? That never works.
For a while, I have to laugh about it. It's a funny aspect. It's the aspect of fuck off. It's not my turn now. Go away.
Precisely. That was one of the things that I noticed. I went to therapy 2006, a couple of years. This great therapist. And I learned so much from her about myself, about, you know, in essence, she helped me strip a few of those patterns and like kind of melt them down again and be able to reuse that energy in better ways. But it was tricky also because I could be so resentful, because it was like I had her on my shoulder. So whenever there was a conflict or a situation with the kids or my husband or co-workers or anything, I could hear her fucking sensible voice on my shoulder whispering in my ears the reasonable, sensible, logical, emotionally mature way of behaving. And I would just want to go, fuck off. Can I please just go bonkers and ballistic for once? Which I, of course, did now and again. But that's actually one of the transformations that I did. Pre that therapy, I was so much more an angry person, habitually angry. Anger was like the pattern that just fell into place in whatever situation. Anger, and so having her on my shoulder actually did allow me to kind of get some new patterns going there, so that if anger actually was the appropriate reaction, it could come. But when it really wasn't, either it came anyway, but then I picked up on it, or it actually didn't come because I could kind of, slot into a different pattern in a sense, or a different reaction. So it was very, very helpful. My oldest, who was 7 perhaps when I started, she can remember like angry mom, and then me, like significantly less angry mom, which was one of my, that was one of the reasons why I did it too, why I went into therapy, is like, I don't want to be angry mom. So it really, it did the trick, but now and again, man, I wish I could just shut her up. But it's hard. It's kind of, I think it's kind of like when you learn how to read. Once you've learned how to read, you can't look at your own language and not see what is there, because you've cracked the code. And I think that's kind of what this therapy thing did. It like cracked the code in such a way that I could see the patterns. I could see the habitual responses and stuff like that. And so it was, I would have had to knock myself really hard over the head to forget it, to be able to go back.
And it's also creating choice. That's an important one. The energy of choice.
Yeah.
And just recently, I something happened on WhatsApp. I sent a message, and that message, I heard something in the news, and that message wasn't believed. And then someone checked it. Don't be bothered or something. And another one, oh yeah, I just deleted your message. And then when this happens, I can feel everything, what's happening, like that. What? Not being bothered, so I felt pushed away. I felt pushed away. And another one was me, my message, you deleted me. And I became just a week ago, and I became so furious. And I know, don't be emotional on WhatsApp. And I did. I could feel it was more difficult to push the button, and I did. And later on, I went to the shop and I was fuming. But for the first time, not the first time again, but I gave permission to myself. Ride this wave, babe. I knew better, but there wasn't a voice, a biblical voice about love your neighbors or something like that, Fuck off. Yeah. I guess, Helena, what you said, you used the word reactive, or reacting. And for me, let's say that's the opposite of expressing. And that's for me a hugely important balance. And that's still my battlefield, and in the clutch of aspects who love to be reactive. They can't do anything else, I guess. And the moments where I just can express myself without doubts or inhibitions or following an impulse.
That's another good word to pit against reactive. I have used react and act. In Swedish, it's reagera and agera. And I was writing something about that, and my friend Charlotte said that she usually speaks about you're reacting or you're responding.
Beautiful.
Which also was like, oh yeah. But you're right, the reacting versus the expressing, it's like, what I hear in this is when I am reactive, it's as if there's I go on automation in a sense. Something from the past, this happened X times with my brother or sister or father or mother or school teacher or whatever. I've learned a way to react, and it just slots in and happens. Whereas if I'm responding or expressing myself, it is from this moment, here, now. Yes, I have my luggage and I have all the experiences in my life, but I'm not doing anything on automatic. It's like I'm there. That's where the element of choice is, in a sense.
Yes.
That I can respond appropriately in the situation, based on the situation, not based on you just triggered me because you said the same thing that my brother always did and it drove me crazy and therefore I react like this. Yeah, but it's like many years ago since I was a little kid. And I think that's one of the things that the therapy I was in the mid 2000s, it gave me this. It started me on the ability to spot the difference, to spot when I was being reactive or responsive, and to start with, I had the worst lag time. I could be with the kids in the morning, something would happen. I would be screaming and shouting at them, get your clothes on or put your boots on, it's raining or whatever it was. Drop them off at kindergarten and stuff, come to work, and then 3 hours later go, wait, I was angry this morning. It's like, oh, that was one of those moments where I was reacting. And then I would just I would just see that and say, oh, good that I picked it up. Not bad, Helena, you shouldn't be angry, but rather, good that you noticed. And then slowly, it's like that lag time got shorter and shorter and shorter. So that I could after some time, notice as I was doing it, as I was screaming at the kids to put their clothes on, I could see, oh, wait, here I am now. I am reacting now, right? And then even more work, even more observing myself. The magic moment happened when I could see that I was about to start to scream at the kids. And I could stop myself and say, hey, wait,
Wow.
do I want this morning? And now and again, I would say yes, and I would go for it. And quite often it's like, no, I really don't. So that was probably a journey that took me half a year or something. But it really made such a huge difference.
Half a year?
Yeah.
Wow. Quick, short time.
Yeah, maybe I'm lying. I don't remember. But I think it was like half a year. But I'm quite good at I like to say that I put on the glasses. I was searching for myself in going into angry mode. So I had on glasses so that I would be picking it up. And I'm good at that type of thing. So
I know that.
it's like I think plus I was a really angry one, so I had plenty of opportunities to like pick up on. And it's interesting, my oldest, she was old enough so that she can remember angry mom. I don't think she remembers it much more than a feeling now, but kind of that feeling. But we speak about this, and I think that's kind of a gift that I've been able to give her, especially, that she knows, felt in her, she knows that a person can really make a huge shift and kind of still be the same, because I'm still mom, right? But I'm not angry mom. And that makes it, it makes it easier for me to own the fact that I was angry mom, because I was angry mom. Not something I'm proud of, but it was me. And I made a shift.
Beautiful. We were talking about ourselves, and with that we brought the past in it. Now you bring the future generations.
Yeah, and I really like that feeling of whatever work I do on me, it helps everybody. It helps the people that I live with here and now. It helps me, yes. But it also helps my ancestry. It helps the people that I come from, however many, centuries ago, long dead. Like there's something there that helps. And it also does kind of, raise the level for my kids and their kids, and so it's like, however much I feel the difference in me, there is a difference when I work at finding who I am, discovering myself, accepting who I am, forgiving myself, grieving experiences. It's like it works like it's multidimensional in a sense. It's multidimensional work.
It's the place where I can feel we are connected to the world. You're in your inner place and doing your work. And then it's connected, as you say, with the past and with the future and with the world. Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, what was an important element in this story is that I learned to receive something. So when you start to connect or to recognize a limiting pattern or something, I guess all your aspects, they are a family and they want to come back to mom, That's the only thing that's needed. So, but then mom needs to be home.
Mm.
So there, I've learned in coaching that, let's say, you're taught if you act in a certain way, that's bad. So the label is immediately, it becomes from the outside that you're a good girl and that's bad, like that. So you know it. And then, so you create a distance. So, and I've learned, let's say, to open up and again, let it come home. That's a huge one. And I recognize that with you. So let's say doing it gentle, that's the description of there is someone in the house who's welcoming those parts.
Ooh, I shiver. I think that's a big part of the work that I'm doing now. Like there's it's somewhat a sense of acknowledging all of those parts for what they are, and just kind of, yeah, I see you, I hear you, and yes, there you are. Yeah.
And I can feel they can relax when you're at home, like a child who had a lot of things to experience through it, and it comes home and there is mom with her idyllic cup of tea, whatever, and the one that comes home, it's a long while ago when I worked with aspects, when the question why it's there, and it's always, it wants to protect you.
Yeah.
It only wants to protect you, and the more you push it away, the vicious it becomes, of course. So I had one a very long time ago, and it was, it's really difficult. It was a Nazi. I don't dare to say it almost, but and I was really at the kitchen table, and he was there was someone with me, and he was knocking on the door. Probably I dreamt about it, and very loudly. And then the moment my decision to really let him in, and he had that ugly thing on his head.
Yeah.
And then in the beginning, so horrible like that. And then in the end, sitting at the table with his head on the table
Oof.
and becoming soft or something by just attention, willing to listen.
That's so beautiful. I was speaking when I was doing the podcast episode with Beverly, the first one. I was mentioning Clarissa Pinkola Estes and an audiobook that I've just listened to a couple of times. That's called Beginner's Guide to Dream Interpretation, which is just amazing. But she starts the book by saying, dreams are a message from home.
Oh,
And so when you were, it was like, I need to tell Mayke this. It's like, I find it, there's a sense of not hope, but like, I don't know what the word is. The fact that my subconscious is trying to help me. It is all of these parts of me. They are there for a reason. They weren't like meant initially to harm me or push me down or anything. They can have gotten thwarted over time. And the energy needs to be reined in again and kind of, okay, let's put this into the melting pot again and see how we can make, a part that will be of more service to you and those around you. But there's something to learn from all of these parts and aspects. There's something to learn from all of the weird dreams you have, and you go, oh my God, I'm crazy. It's a message from home.
oh.
Maybe that's a good place to wrap it up.
Yes, I was feeling the same. It's ending. We are the message. We are the message from home.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayke.
Thank you, Helena.